Today we are talking about the Americana, also called the key lock, bent arm lock, ude garami, this one, okay? And for a lot of people, the Americana is the first submission that you learn. It's very simple. It's taught to every beginner very early in their jiu-jitsu journey, but where does it rank? First category, gi effectiveness. This is a 6, okay? The Americana is a technique that gets less effective as the skill level progresses. And it's fairly effective at the white belt level and even the blue belt level, but above that it becomes increasingly rare. Usually if you see this submission in a high level competition, if you just see this in black belt competition, it's because the bottom person is done. They just are ready to quit, and so they just tap because they just don't want to be there anymore. No gi effectiveness, it's getting a 4. Once again, lower level, this is a fairly common submission. At a high level, I actually couldn't even find a video of an Americana in high level no gi competition. If you can find one, please let me know. I would love to see it. I would love to have it, but I couldn't even find one. So gi effectiveness, it's a 6. No gi effectiveness, it's a 4. Third category, MMA / self-defense effectiveness. This is where the Americana ranks the highest. It gets an 8, okay? So you'll notice that almost all of the clips that I've featured in this video are from MMA fights, Vale Tudo fights, that kind of thing. When punches get involved, people's hands come up in front of their face and the submission becomes much, much more available. So it still is not super common at high level. You don't see a ton of Americanas in like the UFC. However, it is a submission that you have very little danger of anything bad happening to you if you try it. And it is much more common in MMA or self-defense than it is in grappling only competition. Fourth category, body type specificity. We're getting a 5 here. We're right in the middle, okay? It doesn't take any type of crazy flexibility or dexterity or anything like that. However, it is almost always a big person move. It is very rare to see a smaller person using a Americana against a bigger person. I did include one example where it did happen, Renzo Gracie against Maurice Smith. And what you'll notice is that Renzo uses topside inverted triangle to control Maurice while he is applying the Americana. Ultimately, Maurice ends up straightening his arm and it ends up becoming more of an elbow lock instead of a shoulder lock, but it's still an Americana. And so that's one of the rare times where you will see a smaller person applying this submission against a bigger person. So 5 out of 10 on body type specificity. Last category is transition potential. Once again, it gets a 4. The Americana can be added on to better forms of control, like an inverted triangle, say. And it can lead to other submissions. So it is fairly common to see an Americana that then leads to an armbar. But ultimately, you can't hit this move from anywhere. You need to be in a fairly dominant position. And then, if it doesn't work, it can lead you to the armbar, but that's about it. Worth noting here, there is a very rare bottom side control Americana, which can be very effective if the top person refuses to give up position, but it is once again extremely rare at a higher level. Once again, I could not find any video of the technique working in any type of notable competition, but it is a trick move. And Once again, it can be seen particularly at lower levels and particularly with bigger guys that are going to refuse to give ground and just end up tapping. Recapping, gi effectiveness. The Americana gets a 6. No gi effectiveness. The Americana gets a 4. MMA effectiveness, the Americana is an 8, its highest score. Body type specificity, 5. Transition potential, 4. That brings us to a total score of 27, which is solidly in the C tier. So Americana, first submission that most people learn, but ultimately it is a middle of the road submission for most people, and it is not super common